This episode is sponsored by Babbel. If you had a magic button and you could push it and not have ADD anymore, would you? Hello, brains. I am here talking with my Aunt Susie, who was actually the reason I got diagnosed. And I thought it would be really cool to have a conversation with her about her diagnosis, her experience with ADHD. What was it like then, and how does that compare with how things are now? Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
My aunt has agreed to talk on the internet about her ADHD. This is not something that she's used to doing at all. So I have so many questions. First of all, when were you diagnosed with ADHD?
I don't know exactly, but it was probably around 1993.
How old were you at the time?
43, I think.
What led to you getting diagnosed?
My son was having a lot of trouble at school, and I took him to a doctor that I'd read about, said that he was having the same kind of problems in school that I always had, and I wanted him to have a better experience than I did, because I did not like school. I hated it. And he handed both of us a questionnaire, and we both left with Ritalin.
This is a really common story. A lot of women go in to get their kids checked out and leave with a diagnosis themselves. That's really cool that he did that even back then, because there weren't a lot of women, certainly not adults, getting diagnosed with ADHD.
Right.
That was pretty revolutionary for the time, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. They were just discovering that kids didn't always grow out of the ADD, and that some adults struggled with it for the rest of their lives. I felt like I was one of them. I could see where I had problems with it still.
So if there's anything I've learned about ADHD in every generation, it's that we've always got a lot going on. There's always something new and novel we're adding to our lives, whether that's writing a book, taking up a new hobby, or becoming a mom. And we really like to learn. Babbel makes it possible to learn a new language amidst all the chaos. It's one of the top language learning apps in the world, and my personal favorite. The ability to pick it up and put it down easily makes it super ADHD and new mom friendly. Babbel seamlessly mixes in review sessions with learning new things, which keeps learning new and novel while making sure what you've already learned actually sticks, even if it's been a while.
Agitare prima dell'uso.
Agitare? Agitare prima dell'uso. I've been using Babbel to learn Italian, and I'm really happy with the practical progress I've made. Contattare uno specialista. This is getting easy. I feel like I should wear my cool Italian jacket while I'm doing this. I got this in Italy. First I had the study hat, now I have the Italian jacket. It has cartoons on it. 32 out of 32. My Aunt Susie may not speak Italian, but my chosen family does. This is my daughter's Auntie Jo, or Zia Jo in Italian. It's been really fun to go from learning Italian so I can speak it with my chosen family someday to actually having conversations in Italian.
Eccola piccola mia.
If you'd like to learn a new language with Babbel, click the link in the description or scan the QR to get 60% off on your subscription. Now, back to the video. So what was it like for you as a kid? You said you had trouble in school that you were seeing in your son as well. What were your struggles in school?
Not finishing projects, not paying attention in class, not finishing my homework, not handing my homework in. My mom would tell me that I'd forget my head if it wasn't attached.
This all sounds really familiar. This is why I got diagnosed, by the way. My aunt got diagnosed in, 93, 94. I was diagnosed in 1994. My mom looked at me and said, "You're a lot like your aunt. Let's get you checked out." But yeah, all of the same things she's talking about are things that I struggled with as a kid as well. What was it like taking the medication?
Well, it helped a lot in that I could finally finish things. I never could finish anything. I would start things and I just had trouble finishing them. I never had a job that lasted more than a year. And after I started treatment, the job that I was in at the time ended up lasting for 22 years and retiring from that job. And it was not just the medication that I was taking, but it was the fact that I found a job that worked with the ADHD.
Yeah.
There was a lot of variety and a lot of creativity, and I'm a creative person, and it just worked for me.
What was the job?
I was a baker, cake decorator.
That's fun.
Yes, it was a fun job. I love baking, and the cake decorating really satisfied the creative part of myself.
Yeah, you were really creative. I still remember a cake that she baked for me when I was a kid. I wanted a doll cake. And so I remember she took a doll and put it at the top of a cake, and the cake itself was this beautiful dress. I mean, this was before we had like cake Pinterest and stuff. Like, I don't know, where did you get the ideas?
My aunt used to make those for me.
Aw.
My Aunt Fern.
Aw.
You knew Aunt Fern.
I do. That's really sweet.
Yeah, Aunt Fern made those for me.
You took medication. Were there any other supports that you were offered at the time?
The only other support there was I was on AOL, and I found a chat group on AOL of women who had children with ADHD, and sometimes they were also ADHD themselves. They became very good friends and a really potent support for me.
So it was like one of the original ADHD support groups, or ADD support groups at the time.
Yeah, I felt like it was. And we were really kind of winging it, finding out strategies and ways of coping and modifying our behavior so that it worked for us. And we could share those modifications and coping skills with each other and learn from each other. And it was really very helpful.
What were some of the strategies? Do you remember?
We had one which didn't work well for me, but it was a little too complicated, about prioritizing.
Okay.
You got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this, and then you'll have it prioritized. No, it didn't work for me.
So even back then, there were strategies that people were like, this is so great for people with ADHD, and other people with ADHD are like, no.
Didn't work for me. We had a group called Cleaning Ladies with ADD, Claddies, and we would help each other clean our houses. We would meet and say, okay, we're going to clean the bathroom. We'd go clean the bathroom, and then we'd come back. And we just learned to not take things as a big whole. You got to break things down in small chunks. Otherwise, it's just too overwhelming.
Yeah. So you wouldn't try and clean your whole house. You'd just go clean the bathroom.
Clean the bathroom and rest for a little while and then clean something else.
It's so cool to hear that these strategies that feel so revolutionary to me and to this generation of people with ADHD, like you were doing that 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I'm still friends with a lot of those ladies still. One of them is actually an ADHD professional. Terry Matlen.
Terry is one of the OG ADHD support group people, I guess.
Yeah.
I'll link to Terry's stuff below. Terry's wonderful. Are there things that you still struggle with your ADHD?
I struggle with memory. I no longer take the medication. After I retired, I stopped. So I still have a lot of the same problems. And my husband says, you know the coping skills now. Why don't you just do it? I said, you just not something that you overcome with willpower. You know, you want me to go to the doctor and get a medication? Sure. Well, I don't really want you to do that. And I don't think I need it because I'm not working.
Yeah.
If it takes me 3 days to clean my damn bathroom, it takes me 3 days to clean my bathroom.
That was going to be my next question. Are there things that you've just kind of accepted? Like, I just struggle with this and that's okay.
Yes, there are things that I'd struggle with still. Tidiness. I'm not a great housekeeper. My husband, he's OCD and I'm ADD, so we meet in the middle. And he accepts that. I know he likes a very tidy house, so I keep my house pretty tidy, most of it. I'm not saying it's the cleanest house in the world, but it's tidy, except for my one room, my TV room, where I can be as messy as I want and not have to worry about it.
It's a good compromise, I feel.
I think so. Andy just looks in and goes, I'm comfortable in there. I'm nesting in there. That's where all my stuff is. And when I put things away, and I can't find them again, then I get mad.
So that's one room where you can actually just have things where it makes sense to you.
My room. He stays out of it by choice. Both of our choices.
I was going to say his choice or your choice.
And I'm comfortable in there. The mess doesn't bother me. When I go to somebody else's house that has a messy house, I don't care.
That's good because my house is really messy right now. What strategies do you still use?
I make lists. Not as much as I used to. I came up here on the train, but I was spending the night, so I made a little list about things that I wanted to have in my bag. Pajamas, a change of shirt, my medication, my electronics. And then as I put each thing in the bag, I cross it off. I put a check mark next to it. Now, when I go home, as I put everything back in that bag, I will make a little crosshatch check on it so that I know that I got everything in there, because if I don't do that, I will leave something behind.
Oh, so it's a different kind of check. You don't just put another check.
I put a check and then I go like that.
Okay, that's really smart, because if it was like you put one check and then you put another check and you go to put it in your bag and you forgot to put the first check, then you would just put one check and it would be immediately confusing. So it's
Right.
smart to do
Right.
it that way.
Another thing that I do is I have alarms for everything. I have an alarm to get up in the morning. I walk at 11 in the morning, so I have an alarm that goes off at 10:45 that tells me to get ready to walk. I put it on snooze, and then when it goes off again, I put my shoes on, and then I'm ready to walk. I take eye drops 4 times a day. I have alarms for when I need to take the eye drops. I have alarms for everything, because if I don't, I forget things.
These are all very tried and true strategies for ADHD now that you've been using for a long time. What's it like for you when you hear people say that ADHD is a trend, or it's this new thing that just got invented?
I just tell them that I guess you just haven't lived with somebody with ADHD, because my husband was not a believer until he met me. I do hear that sometimes. That's just a disease du jour. I remember somebody told me that at work because I had left my medication out. I said, nope, it's real. It's real.
Come stay with me for a while.
Yeah, my son no longer takes the medication. He doesn't need it anymore. His area is his computer room. That's where he is kind of messy.
Yeah. I love that idea of having areas where you're allowed to be messy.
Some of my ladies from my Claddy group do the same thing.
Yeah.
Their room that's messy.
I might try that.
They allow themselves that. And don't worry about it. Don't feel bad about it. It's just the way they are.
I love that. I'm really curious how your relationship with your ADHD has changed, or ADD, ADHD. What do you call it? Do you call it ADD still?
I still call it ADD because I'm not hyperactive.
Yeah. So how has your relationship with it changed over the course of your life?
I have accepted it. When I was younger in school, I thought I was stupid and lazy. I know that that's a common complaint. I know that people say that, but I really thought that I was very shy. I had a couple of really good friends at school, but that was it. I felt like I was pretty much invisible at school, except for my 2 friends. And they are still very good friends. As I grew older and I started realizing that I had a problem and I started developing coping mechanism and coping skills, I thought that I was different than everybody else. And then one day I was looking at my house and there's 2 cars in the driveway, nice house, and I thought, the people that live next door think that we're a perfectly normal family. And I thought, maybe they think the same thing. Maybe they think that everybody else is normal except for them. And it was like, how Oprah says she has these light bulb moments? Mm-hmm. It was like a light bulb moment for me. And then after that, I just thought, I'm just like everybody else. Nobody's normal anymore. Everybody has their own problems and their own difficulties, and they work through them. And I'm the same way. And I realized that I wanted to please everybody, and I stopped doing that. That I had enough friends. I didn't need to worry about making more if it meant that I had to change the way I was or who I was.
When was that you made that realization?
I was a late bloomer. Probably about 45.
Wow. That's nice that you were able to find that level of self-acceptance. How do you feel about it now?
I accept the way I am. Drives my husband crazy sometimes, but he accepts it. I hope. I guess he does. We're still married. I like myself a lot more than I used to. I like myself now, and I expect other people to like me as well.
That's amazing. That's going to make me cry. We've talked about how your relationship with your ADD has changed over the years. How have you seen it change in terms of how other people react to you as somebody with ADD?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't talk about it very much because people kind of looked at me like I was crazy. Are you kidding? That's for kids. But now I'm meeting more and more people that are quite candid with the fact that they either have been diagnosed with ADHD or they believe they do have ADHD. And I think it's becoming more acceptable.
More understood, more talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How have attitudes changed around it in the world? Do you think people kind of went from not thinking it was real to understanding and accepting it?
I think so. Don't you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Even people with ADHD are starting to understand that it's a real thing, because for a long time, I think a lot of us were like, is it real? Is it a real thing? Is it something, maybe it's just a quirk. Maybe
It's a disease du jour.
Yeah, all of the messages that we've, that the world has been saying about ADD, ADHD, we tend to internalize too. So if other people are saying it's not real, it's really easy to doubt it in ourselves and be like, am I just making this up? Am I just lazy?
And when I told my mom about it, she started crying. She said, I thought it was me. I thought I was just a bad mother. Now I'm starting to get.
Oh, so it's frustrating
Yeah.
raising a child with ADD.
It was, because she didn't know what to do. She had this kid that was so different from her sisters. I was kind of the rebel.
Is there anything that you like about having ADD?
The fact that I think outside the box a little bit more than some people, that helps me be a little more creative. I guess that's the only thing I can think of, because having it really made my life difficult, at least growing up and as a young adult.
Yeah. And part of that was that you didn't have the support you needed.
Yes, there really wasn't. That was a kid's disease.
If you could have asked for the support you needed as a kid or as a young adult, what kind of supports do you think would have helped?
I don't know that there are anything that it would have helped, because at one point they did take me to a psychologist, and I sat there and cried through the whole session because they thought I was crazy.
Oh, that's about stigma, though.
Yeah, I was a really unhappy kid. I had a wonderful childhood. My parents were wonderful. They were very good to us. My mother just loved us all unconditionally, and she showed it every day. But I just didn't feel like I fit in anywhere.
And you do now?
I do now.
You found your people.
I found my people.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. If you could go back and tell your 12-year-old self something, knowing what you know now, what would you tell her?
You're not that different. You have strengths that maybe other people don't have, and you need to like yourself, because you are not lazy and you're not stupid, because I was really convinced that I was lazy and stupid. And I knew in my brain that I wasn't stupid because of an IQ test. But if you feel like you're stupid, that's big. I wasn't successful at things. I didn't finish things. I didn't do things the right way. That's what I would say.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Just accept yourself the way you are and try to find people like you, which I did. I have 2 very good friends. One of my friends was from Jordan. She immigrated there when she was in junior high, and she came to my school and didn't speak much English. Now, I don't remember a lot of this because I have a terrible memory, but she told me not long ago that when she came, I befriended her and I stuck with her and I helped her learn English, and we just became really, really good friends, and she always loved me because of that.
If you had a magic button and you could push it and not have ADD anymore, would you?
No. I like the way I am. I like who I am. I like the way I am. When I was a child, I might have said yes, because I was a deeply unhappy child. But now as an adult, I like who I am.
That's really cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this. Do you have any tips or advice for anybody who is just learning about their ADHD diagnosis for the first time?
Read Jesse's book.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was going to talk about the book. My Aunt Susie actually helped me. One of the times that I was editing, I went down to her house and hung out and read chapters to her and asked her opinion as I was editing. And one chapter in particular, how to remember stuff, where she said, well, but not everybody works anymore. Some people are retired. I said, that's a really good point. So I rewrote the chapter to work for even people who are retired, because everything before that was very much how to remember stuff at work, how to do better at work. And she had a really good point. So that chapter is what it is because of her. And this book exists, and the channel even exists because of you, because I don't think I would have gotten diagnosed if it weren't for you.
You probably would have.
Eventually. Definitely not that early.
Your mother was a special ed teacher. She would have gotten around to it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing all of this. Thank you.
Well,
that was great.
It made me think.
Yeah.
Made me think about it again.
Bye, brains. Thank you again to Babbel for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to learn a new language with Babbel, click the link in the description or scan the QR to get 60% off on your subscription.